This is part 2 of the first week Excel lessons. We're going to be continuing with the same Excel workbook that we created in the first lesson with our budget. Now, I want to just review here for a moment. Excel is a spreadsheet program, which means it's set up with the rows and columns, rows being 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and columns being the A, B, C, D, and so on. And then the intersection of a row and a column like this is called a cell. And the cell has a reference. In this case, it's A2. You can see it right above there. Column A, row 2. And the cells are for putting in text or numbers or formulas. Now, you're occasionally going to hear me talk about functions. Functions are a type of formula. And we had a brief introduction to that in the last lesson. We'll be doing more of that in this lesson. We're going to be moving along very fast in the sense that if this was in class during a normal semester, I'd go a bit slower. I'm going to try to save some time. I already have PDF files for what I call sheet 2, 3, and 4. And mine is actually not labeled right here. So I'm going to change this here real quick here so it says 4. I'm not sure why, but that happens sometime. And way it works is a workbook is the entire document. A worksheet are these individual sheets down here, which you can have a workbook with just one worksheet like our budget, or you can create new sheets and have multiple sheets in one workbook. Okay, to create a new one, you just hit the little plus sign down here and it creates a new one. We did that in our first lesson. So I'm going to go on to the second sheet. Now, if you already made one in the first lesson, you should have a blank sheet 2. If you did not make one, you can just click the little plus and it'll make a sheet 2 here. So go ahead and click on sheet 2. Now, there's a PDF with the information that goes in here. So to save time, I'm not going to sit here and type all the information in. You're fully capable of stopping this tutorial for a moment and typing that in. Now, you might notice I don't always tell you what cells to start in. That's because as long as you have things laid out nicely and do more or less the same thing, there's not just one right answer. I could have started up in row 1. I could move it down to row 2. Somewhere up in this area. Obviously, I don't want it way down here or way over here, but somewhere in the upper left corner would be fine. So your stuff may be in a slightly different row or column. So I'm going to start here with Homeowners Association. Homeowners was typed into, in my case, B2, but I don't actually want it there. I want it centered over this here. And then association, same thing, that's in B3. Now, how do I center it over all this here? Easy. I click here, and then I hold down the shift key, and I drag across however many cells I want it to go over to center. I'm going to, in this case, do 4 cells. I'm going to let go, and then up here we have a button here called Merge and Center. So you can literally just click on that, and it merges those cells, and it centers then your text. Now, if I need to edit this, I can just double click here and edit it. But these are merged and centered. I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to drag across 4 cells. I'm going to go up here. Now, if you'll pull down the menu here, there's a few other options here. But the vast majority of the time, if you use this, you're going to use merge and center. So go ahead and click that. Now, you can also go ahead and make these bold if you want to change the size or change the font. You can do that. I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger. If you want to change the color, you can change the color up here. That's optional right now. Okay. I'm going to change my color on that there too, just so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I did a merge and center, so that's an introduction there to you. And those are common to use for titles and that, which is quite nice. Now, you might say, what's this here about? Well, we'll find out here in a moment. We have a homeowners association, and we have categories. We have tenant. Now, this information is not fitting in this column, so I'm going to go up here between A and B and get your double arrows, and you can drag and make it a little bit bigger. So you can make these bigger or smaller depending on what you want in your preferences. Okay, So I should have cleared these here. I'm going to clear these right now. Whoop, clear them one at a time. I forgot to do that. I think it's cleared for your PDF. But either way, right now we're just going to put in the tenant, which is a title, and then we got the name of 4 different tenants, and we have a total. I'm going to drag across all of these and edit them together. I'm going to hit bold. I'm going to hit center and edit these here together. Okay. Now, you know what? Notice I already have dollar signs here. And that's another thing you can do right now. You can drag across here, assuming you've already typed in your numbers. And then you can go up here to currency, pull this down. And my preference is currency. If you just click the dollar sign there, it puts the dollar sign way over on the left. I prefer it there. You got a decimal there and so forth. Now we have totals here. That's empty for right now. We'll come back to that. We have amount due, amount paid, and balance due. Now, here's what's going on. We have this homeowner association where they have to pay money. Maybe it's rent. Maybe it's help keep up community parks and pools and things like that. Not quite sure. Each of them have a different amount that they owe. Vaccaro owes $670, Ogilvy $730, and so on. Now, the amount paid is how much they paid up until this time. So Vaccaro paid $670, Ogilvy hasn't paid anything, and so on. Now, first thing we need to do is make a formula of the balance due. So this is going to be a very simple minus, okay? So we're going to start with an equal sign. That's how we're going to do this manually here. It's not anything real fancy. And we're not going to put the dollar amounts in there because they can vary from cell to cell. Well, I'm going to click here and see how it put B7 in there for me. Now, yours may not be at B7. Yours might be at a different one. If you want to follow me exactly the way I'm doing it, then yours would be at B7. If yours is slightly different, that's okay. Just put in the cell reference for there. And minus in Excel is literally just the minus sign. The multiplication is the asterisk. Division is a backslash. We'll get to that later. Plus is a plus. Minus is a minus. So that's 4 of the signs there for the mathematics. So we got B7 right there. Minus. And you can literally click on this, or you could type B8. Either one would work. So we have a very simple formula here. B7 minus B8. And I'm going to hit return. And what you're seeing here is 0 because he owed $670. He paid $670. You get a 0. If you click on here, you can look up here in the formula bar. That's what this is, the formula bar. And you'll see the formula. So if you put the formula in wrong and you need to edit it, this is where you would edit it up here. But if you got B7 minus B8, you're all set. Now I might say, Mr. Rio, we got to go and do this for each of these. I'm actually going to show you a shortcut. Okay, so the first shortcut is going to be, see this little dot right here in the corner of the cell? Okay, just click that and drag it across the next 3 cells. Might say, oh no, what happened? It literally took that formula, the B7 minus B8, and it filled it all the way over to the right. So it moved the formula to here. Now I'm going to deselect and click there. Now each time it filled it across, it changed it for the column. So it made B7 minus B8 become C7 minus C8 and so forth. Okay, that's called a fill. You can fill down, you can fill right, you can fill up, you can fill left. Now, very rarely are you going to ever fill up or left, but filling down and filling right is very common. So that saves you a whole lot of time right there. You just have the same formula go across there. It automatically adds it for you. Now, for the totals here, you can imagine this would be a fairly simple one. Okay, we got these cells right here. Now, we could put an equal sign, and in my case, I put a B7 plus C7 plus D7, but there's a simpler way than that. I'm going to drag across here. I'm going to leave this one blank where the total is. I'm going to go up here to our auto sum. Remember the auto sum? Now, if you pull down the menu there, they have the functions. Those are specialty formulas that got words like SUM for sum. That adds up all your cells. They got average for averaging cells. They got some other ones we'll go into later. So you can either select sum right there, or that's the default. You can just click the button and it automatically puts in the sum function. So it literally added those 4 cells up. Now I'm going to deselect and click on here so you can see what it did. The sum function's up here. It's an equal sign, SUM. You got B7 colon E7 parentheses. That's called a range. The top left to the bottom right. That's what it's adding up. Now you could have clicked here and literally typed this. You could have typed an equal sign, put SUM, doesn't matter lower or uppercase, parentheses, and B7 colon E7. And B7 doesn't have to be capital. It can be lowercase or capital. And that would have worked. Now we could obviously do the same thing again and be quite simple, or we can do a fill down. We just drag this down and it fills that same function down, except it adjusts it for row 8 instead of row 7. So you have that going all the way across. In both cases, it copied over the currency, the $sign, so that makes it really easy. So there, with just a few clicks after you type in your info, you got your rows added up, you got your columns adjusted, minusing the amount paid, and you get to see what the balance due is. So that's a very common type of use for Excel, a project like this. Now again, any of these that are too narrow or too tight or too far apart, you can adjust. I do this all the time. I do it so much I don't really think about that much. And sometimes I do it because I need to do it, like there's not enough room for something to fit. And sometimes it's just simply too wide or too narrow, and I just want it to look better. So always make sure that these look good. Now I'm going to quickly go on to sheet 3. And if you haven't already typed in the information here, now I was going to say I thought I cleared these already, but turned out I cleared them on the master one that I made the PDFs off of. But I'm going to change the date up here, and we'll change it to April 24th, which is this Friday, 2020. Okay, so if you haven't done so already, go ahead and type in your information. You can stop this tutorial while you do that, and then you might have to make some adjustments like I'm doing right now to your cells. In this case, the date overflowed into another cell. Not a big deal. You don't need to merge it or anything. Just leave it like that. Library overdue, if you want to make that bold, make it a little bit bigger. Change the color for any reason, you're welcome to do that. I usually bold headings. That's a preference. So I'm going to make my headings bold. And the headings, sometimes people leave them lined up on the left. I'm going to center these here. In a lot of cases, that looks better. I'm also going to center these cells right here. Notice all I did here was drag across. It highlighted them. I go up here and I click center. And now I got that nice, neatly and centered. Now we're going to do something a little different here. We're going to do a formula, then we're going to do a function. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is up here, we're going to do amount due. Now one piece of information that's not in here, and I should probably put this down here, it's 10 cents a day. Now because you're doing this with this tutorial, if you want to type that in, if not, you'll just know that's 10 cents. Okay, so we're going to do a very simple formula right here. We're going to start with an equal sign, and we're going to take not the number, but the cell. So that would, in my case, that would be D8, and we're going to multiply it. So that's the asterisk, which is above the letter 8. We're going to multiply it by 0.10. Now I could just put 0.1, but that's 10 cents. So I thought the 0.10 you would probably relate to better. So there's 10 cents right there, and we're multiplying it by days overdue. So then we hit return and we get $1. That's 10 days overdue, 10 cents a day, that's $1. Now to save us time, just like from the last lesson, we'll click back up there. We'll click here in the little corner. We'll drag down and do a fill, and it will fill the same formula and adjust it for every row. Okay, now mine already had the currency in it. If yours didn't, you can highlight it and go up here and select currency. Okay, now for overdue holdings, we're going to do something a little different. It's called a count function. They simply want to know how many people have something overdue. They don't want to know the dollar amount. They don't want to add it up. They just want to know how many have something overdue. So we're going to click here, and we're going to go up here to the formulas, and we're going to select count numbers. So it starts a function that has an equal sign, it has count, then it has parentheses, and we are literally going to drag here. See how I just dragged it? And it automatically put in E8 colon E15. Now I'm going to hit return. Now it says 8, but we're going to click on here and take a look at this. Now you could have typed all of this manually. You could have put in an equal sign, the word count, doesn't matter if it's capital or not, in parentheses, put in E8, which would be this here, and then put in E15 with a colon in between. That'd be the top left to the bottom right. That's the range. Okay, so we have this. You could type it manually or do it the way I did, coming up here and selecting the function there. But this is a function. What does the count function do? Well, obviously it doesn't add them up. That's the sum function. So what it does, it goes through each of these cells, and if there's any kind of a number in the cell, it counts the cell as 1. Doesn't matter what the number is. It doesn't add them. If there's any number in there, it counts as 1. So if any of these cells were blank, it wouldn't count them. If we had one of them blank, then it would say 7. If we had 2 of them blank, it would have said 5 or 6. But in this case, we had 8, and there are 8 overdue holdings. Okay, didn't say there's $8 due. There's 8 overdue holdings. So that is the count function. Okay, now we're going to do one more sheet and assignment. We'll click on sheet 4. There's a PDF for this. And again, your PDF got that cleared. I'm going to make a few adjustments. You can take a break now if you haven't typed this in. But I'm going to drag these here a bit closer. I'm going to assume at this point you just came back and you've already typed in your data. Again, you might be in the exact same rows and columns that I'm in, or you might be, a row or column different. Not a big deal. Okay, I'm going to drag this one here over. Now, this is a case where we need this word to fit in there because we're going to be putting formulas over here. I'm going to select those and make them bold and a little bit bigger. Okay, and if I want, I could center it. Okay, some people may like that. Some may prefer the left alignment. You can do either one. Okay, now here I'm going to do room number, room capacity. Now let's stop and think here what is going on. I'm making a few of these titles bold. The titles, I call them titles. They're actually called labels in Excel. It's basically the words that say what the data is. Without the words, you may have no idea what the numbers are. Okay, so we got seating capacity for conference rooms. So we have room number, room 138, 141. These are literally like the number on the door. This isn't how many people you can put in there. It isn't how many seats there are. It's just literally the number on the door. Okay, so you got maybe a banquet facility, you got conference rooms, and you got different size rooms. Now the capacity is how many people can you get into each room. Okay, so some rooms are bigger than others, and you're allowed bigger capacity. Okay, I'm going to move this here over a little bit and this over here over a little bit. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do here is highlight these numbers here, and I want to center them all. I think that looks a lot nicer for this type of an assignment. Now you might say, where are we going to put formulas, Mr. Rio? We're going to put them over here. Okay, we're going to do the first one's going to be room count. So we're going to click here, and I'm going to do this one manually. I could go up here and select count, but I'm going to do it manually. I'm going to put equal sign. I'm going to literally type the word count. Okay, I'm going to put a parenthesis. Now, honestly, either one of these rows would work because you're going to get the same answer either way. But I'm going to do capacity. So I'm going to do C7 there. I'm going to do a colon. Now you could type C7 up there, or I clicked on it, so I put C7 in there. There's a colon, and I'm going to do J7. Now that's for me. If yours might be a slightly different row, yours might be slightly different. And I'm going to put the other parenthesis in there. That's a function. You can see it up here. After I hit return, you'll see the number here. If you click on it, you see the function up here. So if you messed up your function for any reason, you can just edit it up here. So that is 8 rooms. There's 8 rooms. That's all we want to know is how many rooms there are. Now for capacity, that's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to do a sum function, and I'm going to do this one manually. I put an equal sign. I put SUM for sum. I put a parentheses. I'm going to click the first one, which is in my case C7. Now this is the capacity of that first room. And then I'm going to put in a colon. There it is right there, colon I just put in. And I'm going to click on the last one, which is, in my case, J7. And then I'm going to put another parentheses. So it's got a sum function, equal sign, SUM. Always need an equal sign for every formula. And when I say every formula, every function is a formula. So function, formula, they all require an equal sign. We got a range, C7 to J7, top left to bottom right, right next to each other. And of course, sum is going to add all these numbers up. So I hit return. There's my capacity, 415. If you click on that, you'll see your sum function up here. So this is hopefully now getting a little bit easier for you. You're getting more comfortable with adjusting rows and columns, putting in data, putting in formulas and functions. You've had an introduction now. We've talked about sum. We've done count. We'll do average in another assignment. Hopefully we'll get to max and min. And now we're on to sheet 4. Now the first sheet, I believe we renamed it budget. So if yours says budget, mine says budget. If it still says sheet 1, don't lose sleep over that. The second sheet, we have the second one, which you could give it another name or you can leave it sheet 2. I'm not going to worry about that right now. If you want to rename it, double click on it. This box comes up, you can give it a different name. We got sheet 3 and sheet 4. So that is our assignments for the week. That's it. One workbook. This entire document is a workbook. Do a save. I think it saves automatically if you're in the online version. You're going to have your one workbook. I named mine Complet Book 1. So that's a good name. Complet Book 1, CL Book 1. Even Book 1 would probably be good enough. And then go ahead and we're done with this here for this week. Next week we'll do some more advanced ones and we'll do another workbook with some sheets and assignments. Now, what do you do now? First of all, you can go ahead and close out of here. If you are in the online OneDrive, you can, let's see here, we need to download. Yeah, you click here where it's got the little arrow, little dots. Go to download, click download. Now, in my case, it comes down here in the browser. And I literally, to be honest with you, I just dragged it off of here. Now, you can't see where I dragged it, but I dragged it off of there. And it's now on my desktop on my computer. Now, you might be able to figure out other ways that work better for you. If you're using a desktop version of Excel, you just saved it wherever you want to save it. And hopefully you know where it is. And then once you have it, in my case here, there it is in case you don't see it. It's over here on my desktop. The next thing is to submit it. So I'm not going to go through the entire, you guys have done this before in Google Classroom, but go to the assignment for this week. It's just one assignment for this week that we're doing. And go ahead and turn it in. And that will have everything from the first tutorial and from this tutorial. So there's 2 tutorials this week, 1 workbook, and 4 sheets with 4 different Excel projects on them. So good luck. This is an introduction to Excel. I may put up a general Excel video here that you can look over just to get a general overview. And next week we'll do a few more documents. And of course we're not going to cover everything we normally would in Excel. Just trying to get through basics because this is a really important program and these are really useful skills. So take care. Have a good rest of the week. And sometime before next Sunday night, I'll get up the assignments for next week's Excel. We're only going to do Excel this week and next week. Yeah, that's about it I can think of right now. Keep checking the Google Classroom. And if you got any makeup work to do from earlier in the semester, make sure you turn that in or contact me either way. If you turn it in, let me know so I make sure I grade it promptly. And if you got questions or not sure about something or need an alternative assignment for some reason, let me know. Okay, take care.